Welcome everyone on this afternoon today for this panel discussion. And what the topic is, the new normal already seems old, and what is next for finance? And frankly, after I posted about this panel, I got many calls telling me they were baffled, found the topic enigmatic. They said, look, new normal? We already have one normal. So what is this new normal? So, folks, this is Anand Soni, your moderator for this session. I am working as Group CFO, handling diversified businesses, retail, trading, FMCG, distribution, construction, contracting, health sector, investment, petroleum, services. So, folks, give me a business. I will handle. And I'm so privileged to moderate this session with our esteemed panelists here. And we have Sudeep Ghosh, Group CFO of AKI Group. Welcome, Sudeep.
Thank you very much.
Then we have Murli Krishnan R, CFO of Al Watba National Insurance Company. Welcome, Murli.
Thanks, Anand.
And then we have Norman Mia. He's the CFO for Bait.com. Welcome, Norman. So welcome all the panelists and all the audience. And I'm pretty confident in this 35 minutes ride, you will find that the topic is not that enigmatic. It's not that baffling as you find. So enjoy the ride with me and the panelists for the next 35 minutes. So you see, when the COVID started, we all started feeling it was an unknown catastrophe. It hit us, and people said it's a black swan event, something which none of us was prepared for, and rightly so. So this brings to my first question to Sudeep. Sudeep, do you really believe that we are actually prepared for this black swan event, so to say? And what is the best way, or what is the best thing to do? So do you really believe it's a black swan event? And what is the next best thing you think we should do? Yeah, Sudeep.
Right. Thank you, Anand. So I'm Sudeep Ghosh, the Group CFO of AKI Group. See, first of all, let us understand what is a black swan event. Black swan events are which are unforeseen and unthought of. So you can't really prepare for a black swan event. However, what you can do is prepare, and that's what the last 1 year taught us. You can prepare for eventualities. So you can prepare for disruptions. And to a large extent, most of us were caught napping during the 1 year, and I think there's lesson to be learned in ways to go forward, what we can do in order to be better prepared. So I've thought of a few points which we can do probably, is that, see, hindsight is not foresight. Now, technological advancements have created such a situation that the business environment is changing every 5 to 7 years. So what we used to do right before, it doesn't mean that if we can continue doing so, we will be in a safe space. So we have to continuously monitor what are the things forward. The one very key element is risk assessment. So in whatever business you are, and Anand, you just mentioned a gamut of business operations that you have, but in whatever business you are, there are certain key risk areas. We need to identify these key risk areas, that should there be disruptions in these cases, what is the next best thing that we can do? So identification and understanding of the risk areas are extremely important in order to prepare for eventualities. Now, in my line of work in finance and accounting, I found that digitization and automation is also a way forward. We have to look at more and more processes where we need to introduce automation. We are already running 3 RPA, robotic process automation projects within our function, which means that seamlessly and without any interruptions, the work and the background, the processes can just keep on continuing. The other element is, of course, keep a very robust and updated cash flow forecast. So earlier we may have done a forecast maybe once a quarter or once a month, depending on how professionally you were looking at your business. But I believe that now it has to be almost a weekly affair to see where are the bottlenecks, which areas we need to immediately focus on. And needless to say, cash flow management. So the more the credit period you have and the lesser debtors period you have, the more concentric your cash cycle is obviously going to be beneficial. And one more thing which is very easier said than done is to have some cash reserve. We found out that what kills businesses are not probably the lack of sales and the lack of opportunities. It is the dearth of cash. So businesses folded because they could not keep the cash requirement going for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and so on. So it would be my advice that we keep some kind of reserve cash in mind going forward. Anand, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sudeep, and for your insight. And I really like when you said that the risk assessment has to be in accordance with the business, because many of the times I have seen people make risk assessment and they paint everything with the same brush, which this doesn't work. Thank you so much, Sudeep. But you see, what has happened is, and I've seen that in the last 12 months, the role of finance function itself, in my view, probably has undergone a change. It was something different. And now I think it has a different landscape altogether. So Murli, what do you think has happened to the finance function? Do you believe it's a support function? Do you believe it is driving the business? Or you believe it's a decision maker? Murli?
Yeah, Anand. So ever since the 2008 financial debacle caused by the Lehman Brothers collapse, I believe CFOs have ever been closer to the corner office, the CEO's office, to the board of directors, and to the rest of the stakeholders at large. So as you see, a crisis of this extent or a crisis of this stature would pose more questions than answers in the boardroom. So everybody will be looking for answers, be it from the board or be it from the rest of the C-suite. And who best to answer these questions rather than finance? Because from finance, the good thing with all of us is that we are able to have access to a wide set of data, ranging from sourcing to procurement to production to service, and whatnot. And with the advent of all these e-commerce portals and the set of data that is coming in, the extent of analytical tools which are available at our hand, who better to advise or provide answers to the CEOs and the rest of the board, rest of the stakeholders than CFOs. So what I have seen, apart from the normal task of, say, monthly financial closing, or rather the other compliance jobs, the role of the CFOs has more or less shifted towards providing strategic advice to the stakeholders. Now, in the past, as whatever we have seen or whatever we have learned, the finance function has been all about the 3 C's, compliance, control, and cost management. But right now, it is shifting more towards the business partnering role also. So finance has equipped itself to be a business partner for all the stakeholders at large. And obviously, the COVID crisis has thrown bigger set of challenges for us. In fact, liquidity was one of the most important aspects which were to be looked at the first part of the crisis. So as you know, liquidity is like finding a New York taxi on a rainy day. So whenever you need it, you will not find it. So if that was not the task was again cut out by most of the regulators and the rest of the stakeholders asking for more and more information. So the finance function has rapidly increased in stature. They have been on demand for the last few years, and if not during the COVID crisis, more at large. And obviously, because you have access to a wide range of KPIs, you have a set of functions which directly complement the finance function, and accordingly you are having the set of functionalities at your own disposal to ensure that you provide the right set of information. So having the right set of information is essential when it comes to making the right decisions.
Yes.
So I guess FMS have grown more rather than a support function to an enabler function of late.
Yes, Murli. One of the things which, and which you have also highlighted is when you say management of the board and the management of the stakeholders, you see in the last 12 months, I think this area of a CFO managing the board and talking in their language has also gone a big time change, something which we all need to work also on that. Interesting, Murli. Thank you for your insight. Now, you see, folks, the another area which, in my view, has undergone a change is the digitalization. And I think it's not just a matter of work from home. I think our work itself has impacted. And so let's understand from Norman how technology, digital transformation, Norman, you believe has impacted your business. And what do you think can be the role for the finance and the accountants in this new norm? Yes, Norman.
Thank you, Anand, and it's good to be joining this panel. And thank you for that question. Well, technology has certainly changed the way we do things, and the only thing that pandemic has done is accelerated that change, because we were already going through that cycle of change slowly but surely. We were still talking about how technology will change our world, but of course, pandemic has certainly kicked that really hard, and everybody has now thinking about how technology will change the way they do business, the way they work, the way how companies operate. So similarly not just us, we are a technology company. So for us, it probably needs to be evaluated much closely. But I feel any other business, be it an FMCG or insurance or any other business, it has gone through a major change, and how we interact with our customers has changed. So it's not just only about finance; it's about the whole interaction with any human being, be it supplier, be it a customer. So that has definitely changed, and how I feel if for finance, it's finance and accountant, it's even much more important, as Murli was mentioning, that we are no longer a support function. I still feel that we should have already come out of that shell a long time ago, and he did mention that when he quoted the Lehman Brothers and the financial crisis of 2009. So I still feel that if we haven't come out, it's high time that we should. The skill sets that's required for accountants are evolving. We are most of companies are now looking at professionals with financial planning and analysis as skill sets. Even in the World Economic report, future of jobs report, accounting was considered as one of the most declining global roles. So if you are a data entry person or accounting, bookkeeping, all of these roles are going to fade away, and things like data analysts or big data specialists, they will take over. Digital transformation specialists, or even AI, or as Sudeep was mentioning about robotics and RPA, robotic process automation. So these are all these changes that are going to come in the future. And if we are not uh, prepared for that, we will be left behind, and we will be among those declining roles that the World Economic Forum has predicted. But at the same time, all is not dead and gloom, because as long as we continuously learn, as long as we continue to change and adapt to the new normal, and we will talk about the normal, what is new and what is old later on. But to adapt to this new normal, one has to upskill, one has to upgrade, and one has to make sure that they go with the time. and anyone, and you're not just competing with your peers, you are competing now with the millennials, the new, the younger generation. They are coming up as well. So it's not just about you trying to measure yourself against a peer within your industry, but you have to make sure that you keep a check on how the new generation is bringing that change and is bringing those new skill sets. So make sure you have eyes at the back as well as in the front.
Right, Norman. One thing which I don't know, I felt it across the board in this pandemic times is, technical skills are good, but I mean, if I have to hire someone today, I may still ask him more on the personal side, mental strength, ability to face the uncertainties, because like it or not, all of us have gone through a lot of stress levels. So probably one of the skill sets, even for finance professionals, can be to have a better mental strength to safeguard to get through their work profile. I think so. All right. So yes, so we have an interesting insights coming from our panelist. So let me ask Sudeep. You were mentioning that about the Black Swan event, and since it happened all of a sudden, what specific actions in your organizations you took? And I'm referring to the period between March to May 2020. That's the time when we all were caught completely unaware.
You have not never spoken truer words, Anand. Uh, those were really gut punch moments. Uh, and just to underline the point, all of us should wish that we never get caught on a similar footing in the future, if anything, God forbid, anything like that happens. So
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
yeah, when this thing, the event happened, and the lockdown scenario opened, for 5 to 7 days we were in limbo. We didn't know exactly what needs to be focused on, what needs to be done. But thankfully our business, especially our business which is in the healthcare supply sector, that kept on continuing. We were still getting orders, we were still getting shipments, so we had to somehow shake it off. So we concentrated, from a finance function, we concentrated on two areas: A, how to continuity of process, how to ensure that, and B, cash management and cash preservation. So I will take one of them, the continuity of processes first. So see, thanks to the tremendous effort of our IT team within the organization, we were already geared up with a very good ERP system, digitization of lot of our processes. But due to lack of intent, not only from finance but across all other stakeholders, we never actually put things in place. Just to give you a small example, we were all geared up for e-banking, but nobody ever took the effort of actually taking the token in hand, logging in, approving online. They all felt, even our owners, they felt quite comfortable in signing of papers. So this situation kind of pushed us into utilizing or optimizing the opportunities that were already there. So within a short period, within about 10 working days, we were able to continue all our processes, almost all our processes, sitting at home or working wherever offsite. There were a few things which related around documentations and all, where we had to have a messenger kind of person who will shift from banks to office to whatnot. But more by and large, we were able to handle this process. And right now, although most of us are back full time at work, should something happen tomorrow, we will be very comfortably continuing the processes from wherever we are. Now I come to the cash management and cash preservation. See, we have a very healthy segregation into the retail business also. So we have always been used to getting our retail cash inside the business, which we can then cater to our requirements in the distribution sector. But suddenly when the retail stopped, we were completely shocked to not have this cash inflow. So the immediate steps that were taken was open communication channel with our vendors, whether local or international, to inform them that we are going to delay our payments, but with the intent of absolutely releasing it, but we need a little bit of time. We got, by and large, we got very, very helpful cooperation from them also. We reached out to our banking institutions to talk about further lines, and more importantly, we looked inward for temporary as well as permanent measures of cost reduction. So all this put together, and then we were doing a cash flow forecast on a daily basis. So every day we were able to understand, okay, what are the bottlenecks, what are the solutions, what happened well, what didn't go so well. So we were able to work on it within a very short frame of mind. I would say maximum 4 to 6 weeks. We were able to come back to our normal cash cycle, which was enough for us to run the business and take it forward. So I hope I have been able to give you a very short synopsis of the steps that we had taken.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, congratulations the way you handled it, and the way you said within 4 to 6 weeks you could get back to the new normal. Considering it was a black swan, they were indeed creditable. But I've seen in the last 12 months, many of the organizations who took it just like any other event found their hands completely burnt. And then once you lose the stream last year, it really has taken a lot of time for many of the organizations, maybe the SMEs or the other organizations which were not well prepared. So I think one of the ways, as Sudeep has mentioned, was to recognize that yes, it was a black swan event, and then take the remedial actions on an urgent basis. And 4 to 6 weeks time, hats off to you, Sudeep, for ensuring it done. And I think you raised a very valid point in your discussion about the costs, because people often mistake that focus on the revenue only, and then crib their business is not there. So obviously, when the business is not there, revenues are not happening, and the cost is one angle where we got to take a control. So Murli, just going back to you, we can have a cost reduction and then business is impacted. They say, look, don't go and kill the bones and the muscles.
Yeah.
Just trim the fat. That's what we use in a cost control language.
Yes.
Because if you kill the bone and the muscles, then your business is stopped. So strategic cost control without killing the business initiative is something what I believe in. So I wanted to understand from you. I mean, what were your cost control initiatives in business or in your digital initiatives, and was it restricted only to the finance, or was it across the board? Yes, Murli.
Yeah, Anand. So, in fact, the most important aspect is to understand the impact of the financial impact of the crisis across the value chain. So, you look at all the functions and you understand the financial impact across the value chain, and then you need to properly articulate the impact of these economic scenarios. You need to properly plan or properly prepare a scenario analysis as to how you prepare for the eventualities, and after that, you model the financial impact, the projected financial impact on all these scenarios, and understand where the cash sources are and where the cash is going. And then the most important aspect is to define the non-negotiable. For every business, there are non-negotiables to deal with. For example, be it the employee satisfaction, be it the customer satisfaction, be it keeping the supply chain intact, be it these regulatory aspects that you have to comply with. So there are certain non-negotiables you need to definitely deal with. So if you understand all these aspects, and if you jot it down properly on your plan, on your business continuity plan, you will be clearly able to identify what are the aspects wherein, as you rightly mentioned, wherein you can cut fat, and what are the aspects that you can bring in more efficiency in. So as you have seen during the crisis, I think irrespective of whatever we say, instead of going for perfection, I think speed, agility, and efficiency has been key for the organizations to come out of this crisis. And most of my colleagues would also agree to the fact that digitization has remained key for most of the organizations. And they have been, whoever has started with the digitization process has been at the forefront of coming out of the crisis with flying colors, rather than those who haven't started also. And more often than not, we often get carried away by the fact that, okay, So everybody is doing digitization. Everybody is digitizing all their efforts. So why don't we also start with the journey of digitization? Put in few RPAs, put in few AIs in, buy a new ERP systems, bring in a whole change management system, and then you are also up to speed. I think more often than not, this has proven to be a misconception. So the organization, the change is one of the things that you have to deal with in any of the organization, but the magnitude of change is something that you have to, as a finance professional, that you need to keep in mind when ticking off all these boxes, when you sign off all these bigger projects. So the one thing that you have to clearly understand is to understand whether this particular spend will bring in immediate cash efficiency, immediate cash inflows, or process efficiencies, which can help you in the long term.
Right, Murli.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think very important initiatives you mentioned about it. And one of the things which organizations can make mistake is, to assume cost control across the board. So if you're in trading, what works for trading probably will not work for if you're in manufacturing, and what works for manufacturing may not work for contracting.
Exactly.
So I think it's important that the businesses recognize that cost control needs to be in line with the business. But great insight from you, Murli.
Yeah.
So we are now in the last 10 minutes of this interesting session. I hope, folks, you all are enjoying it. When I started the session, I used the words, some big words I use. I said enigmatic, I said baffling, because honestly, I felt it was an enigmatic topic, saying that, look, the new normal already seems old, and what is next for finance? So I said, look, is it going to be new normal plus old normal, or is it new plus new, or is it hybrid? So let's take this question bull by the horns. So let me ask you, Norman, do you foresee going back to the old normal? And if not, how do you envisage the new normal for the finance function? I mean, where are we?
Well,
Yes,
thank
Norman.
you, Anand. So I think that's a great question, and I think the topic of our panel is definitely intriguing. And I'll touch upon some of those points that probably Sudeep and Murli also mentioned. So we did say that different industries have been impacted differently. Some have been impacted in greater, or the impact has been much more enormous versus the other industries. And similar to how Sudeep was mentioning that people did drive change within the organization, and within, I believe, 2 to 4 weeks, they were able to adapt to the new technology. So that's definitely a change. And I would say, does Sudeep now see that going back, and maybe people going back to signing checks? Probably not. So that's a change, right? So now, if the old normal was like that, the new normal will certainly take over that old normal, because now people have stepped forward, people have taken new measures, and those measures are much better than the old ones. So in that case, most certainly that the new normal will take over the old normal. But at the same time, it can differ from one industry to the other. So again, Sudeep mentioned he was back in the office probably by April last year. And Anand, you yourself mentioned you were never in lockdown. And for me, I've been away from office now for a whole year. We've been operating from our homes for over a year now. So uh, why I'm mentioning that is just to let you know that the norms will differ from each company, from each industry, from every organization. So it is possible, and I know a lot of other technology companies who have gone back to the offices. So it also becomes part of how your organization is built, how you are managing within your organization. So there is definitely things that are not going to go back to the old normal. But I can also say, I mean, almost say that whatever we have done as part of the new normal is more of trying to bridge gaps in terms of trying to make sure that we are able to continue without any hindrance, without any challenge of being put away or being under a lockdown. So the business should not stop, right? So which means that we need to continuously evolve, and at the same time we need to continuously look back into our own system, into our own processes, that how that old normal can be changed. So going forward, I see that we will continuously see how our old normal used to be. We will continuously improve on that, and I don't see those gaps that were left by the old normal. We won't go back to those for sure. But will we go back to the new normal? I think the new normal is continuously changing. So even that's why when you say is the new normal old, I feel the new normal, yes, it is old, because no single day is now can be possibly compared to the previous day. So that's why for me the new normal is also old, and we will continuously evolve.
Thank you, Raman, and I'm sure your insight probably will give the audience and other folks some clarity, and they will not consider the topic that enigmatic and that baffling. Actually speaking, when you speak about the new normal, I feel one of the new normal which I have experienced is towards dealing with external stakeholders. I mean, the way we used to deal with the banks, to whether you're structuring or new facilities, it's a completely different ball game altogether. So I think one of the new normal, in my view, is also how do you deal with the external stakeholders. So important, so important. So I think we're there now, the last 5 minutes, and I can see some questions, and I will try to write. So the first question that I can see is, it says, how successful are you in measuring the return on investment on technological budget? So essentially, basically saying that, look, when you talk of digital initiatives and going for the new technical budget, how do you evaluate your... Norman, would you want to try?
So, Abhinav, great question, and I would suggest that these some of these ROIs, it's definitely very difficult to measure. But in some cases, I would say that um, you went into a surgery, right? So now you don't know how effective that surgery is going to be, but you needed that surgery, right? So to make sure the company company goes forward, companies is still sort of continuously in motion, and to make sure that the company continues to be in motion, you had to go through that surgery, and that surgery was because of the COVID situation, and you had to implement some of those technological changes. So it wasn't that by choice that you had to, but you had to go through that surgery because you wanted to move forward, and there was no other solution for it. So now that you have come out of surgery, you will figure out if this was effective for you. That is dependent on you yourself, and because you need to understand, is your organization still adapting to that technology, or they are just going back to signing the piece of checks that used to happen. So that technological change uh, certainly depends on your organization, on your culture, and how you are able to make sure that you continuously use and utilize those resources. So once you have a system, ideally, and if it's I mean, from a technology point of view, things will anyways continuously evolve. So if you haven't taken that step initially, or you haven't invested, then again, in all cases, you have to start from somewhere. So
Yeah.
that return of investment,
I hope.
definitely, if you continuously try and measure on ROI, probably you may not end up anywhere, because the surgery was anyways
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah. I hope that gives an answer to one of our audiences. Now we are just there in the last 3 minutes. So I have one question where I would request both Sudeep and Murli to share their insight, but probably a minute for each one of you. Uh, So one of the question is, in this new normal, how are we dealing with our board? So important as a CFO to deal with the board to get the actions done. So how are you dealing with the board? Unfortunately, you only have a minute, Sudeep, and then I go to Murli.
So, see,
Yeah,
I don't think, and I can speak from my personal experience, I don't think
yeah,
anything has changed in that. You were always accountable even before, and you're still accountable now. And in terms of presenting or your analysis or your feedback, okay, maybe we do it more on Zoom rather than getting it together in a board meeting. But to answer your question in a very short way, the accountability doesn't change, and therefore the relationship has not changed. That's as far as I'm concerned.
yes, Murli. Yes, Murli.
Yeah,
What is your call?
yes, Anand. So the most effective way of dealing with the board has always been to keep them informed on what exactly is happening in the business, and always be the one to deliver the bitter truth. So finance has always been the one to deliver the bitter truth. So, and it is always better to be truthful in the period of crisis, so that they know what exactly is going on in the business, and they also put in their thinking hat and effectively guide and manage the business in a proper way.
Yes. Finally, I think paranoids always succeed in these times. So it's better to make the board aware of the worst case scenario and giving them the solutions. So we are just finished right on dot 12:50. So thank you, Sudeep. Thank you, Norman. Thank you, Murli, and thank you, my audience. You have been a great answering the questions, and I hope you're involved. And most important, you have got some insights and about the topic. And yes, the new normal has become old, and we look forward for what a new normal is for the finance. So